Hello, viewers. I'm SB, and welcome back to the season of Yule here in Mask of the Rose, where I really do not feel like we have made basically any progress on figuring out what happened to David. But we did have some interesting conversations with David, at least. I'm not really sure. I definitely don't like our story anymore. The sort of the theory that we had constructed. Phoebe, I think, is maybe in a very different position in that household than I had thought. And so maybe we should start by retooling our narrative a little bit. You know what? Actually, before we do this, let's recall the past. Let's do our morning rememberings. Sometimes we get verbs and stuff out of this. I reach for another memory out of that jumbled grab bag. After the fall, there was a time when I didn't go to dinners. Are you ill, my friend? You may find that you have an appetite if you get out a bit. Take a walk and stretch the legs. Constable Hargett will take you if you want to go. I was probably grateful for their concern, right? Thank you. I know it's kindly meant. But you'd prefer us out. I don't like to see you in this state. Come downstairs. We've said our piece. Best to leave it. That was a very short memory. That's like literally, we didn't learn anything there that wasn't in the line of text that we clicked on. Okay, not super useful. All right, so if we think it is probably unlikely that Phoebe was willing to help with David's death on account of Phoebe might be sort of romantically infatuated with David. I mean, it's pretty much just Phoebe and Rachel who have access to him, right, though? And Archie, I guess. Maybe Archie's guilty. Fuck, I don't know. I mean, could not Milton have done it himself? It's the thing that gets me about this is this suggests a more complicated plot than we have any reason to believe exists. Right? Clearly, because of the way this is constructed, it is going to turn out that there is like a mastermind and then a lackey. But we don't have any reason to think that right now. There's no reason to think that like a second person was involved. And really, even if Milton was the motivate, like even if this was Milton's idea, he's been to the house, right? because of him pursuing Rachel. Like he could have just done it with his own damn hands. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we do just hold on to this plan or this theory so that we can just ask people questions. Yeah, all right. For the moment, I don't have another idea. So for the moment, let's do that. Okay. I would like to talk to Rachel. I know we have other thoughts and concerns and stuff, but like I feel like trying to get Archie situated, trying to get Archie safe is our number one concern, and also it fits with our pledge, the pledge we made to Horatia, right? Like we're protecting the people of the house, we care about the people of the house, we are doing our best for the house at this moment. So let's go see. I should definitely show up in my social clothes. I think probably not with the fork this time. No, we'll just do the normal social outing get up, I think. Yeah, I am satisfied with this. You have a visitor. Okay, I guess I will wait for Phoebe to go. Good to see you. I pause and look in Phoebe's direction. Meaningfully, to get her to go. I am going to take a second to flirt with Rachel. Okay, well, hold on a second, though. Does this make it look like I am... I wonder if flirting with Rachel is going to make it look like my motives are perhaps a little complicated with this whole Milton thing. If it looks like I'm trying to just like get Milton out of the way so I can have her for myself. Maybe this is not a good moment to flirt with Rachel. Let's do... I expect Rachel is going to expect a little bit of like polite chit chat. I'm going to try to like satisfy the social script here. I recount the newspaper story. Tristram Bagley has begun a new opera. I make the story. This is text that we've seen plenty of times. This is how I talk about everything. Fascinating. Do you have a copy of today's I can keep? There's a germane detail in my latest chapter. I do always have disappointment in the elevated classes, but I'm going to keep it light for the moment. I laugh, but let the subject drop. Yeah, these are like semi-procedurally generated conversations, right? Rachel brings up a legend common amongst the servant classes that the Neath contains many other fallen cities. Interesting. They say it's just the way the floor of the deep ocean is covered with bones. When a leviathan dies, it sinks to the bottom, and there is no one to bury it. Well, that's curious. Ask no more questions on the murder now is like a total 180. Is like bail out without having done any of the thing I came here to do. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Like all of them. Like all of the things. Yes. Is David answering your questions? Not yet. But I was hoping you would. It's for the sake of the law. I see. Harjit did ask me to. Oh, did he? Yes, very well. You were here the night David returned, so you recall what happened on the day. Yeah, that's not really my primary concern. I remember what he said. So the way we want to approach this is... Maybe I just want to ask whether David had it. Like, we know David doesn't like Milton. I don't remember... Do we know... Let me look at my journal real quick. This might not be the kind of information that would be recorded. Oh, I forgot about this. That actually is interesting. Okay. We know that David doesn't care for Milton. I couldn't remember if Milton had shown a dislike for David or not. If that was maybe a one-way concern. My guess is Milton doesn't think about David at all. But this is the theory we're pursuing. So, I'm going to start this way. Did David have any enemies that you knew of? I've asked myself. There are our cousins, of course. There's a surface estate that David inherited. They wrote to us when contact was made again. But how would they have killed him? A poisonous letter? One reads of such things. The paper impregnated with poisons. A document that Phoebe or I brought to David in its envelope, neither of us knowing what it was until he opened it. But no, it's Gothic. Well, I mean, the thing is it possible that Milton did this? Well, he didn't go into David's bedroom on the day. They weren't on friendly terms. Whatever David said, Milton didn't mean us any harm. Yeah, but magic, etc. He's a devil, like... How far did this dislike go? David thinks Milton is a person of loose morals and tastes. Accurately, it would seem. And he has been too ill himself to accompany me to any of Milton's salons. He imagines it is all ladies of the demi-monde peeling grapes for the gentlemen, instead of a company of well-dressed men and women debating the emergence of a new apocalyptic tradition in art, and debating whether one might include London's graffiti among the examples. Okay, but like, did Milton and David fight as far as you know? Not if you're picturing fisticuffs or duels in the alley. For the most part, it was a cutting aside here and there. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. The thing is, we don't have any idea, as people from the surface, we don't have any idea what methodologies Milton might have access to here. Like, we are at a massive information disadvantage. For the most part, there was something beyond asides then. So again, I am leery to press on her in a romantical way here because I feel like it muddies my my motives. So let's try this. I'll owe you a favor if you tell me. Whatever you wish to collect. Rachel hesitates between two disagreeable prospects. Friendship has a claim on me. David did confront Milton once when he was visiting. He asked his intentions and suggested that he might forbid Milton to visit. David is not well enough to try to force Milton out himself, and we don't have as many servants as we did. Phoebe, our servant, could hardly drag Milton out of the house herself. Milton said a few words. They must have been in English, but I didn't understand them. David was as confused as I was. But just then I saw in the mirror in our parlor the image of a different David, pale white and waxen, staring out from beyond the glass. The reflected David mouthed some words. We couldn't hear them. They were silent as a dream. But we could see that the reflection spoke with a split tongue. David and I stood there looking at it for a moment, and then it was gone. I don't know what happened. What the image was, or what it meant, or whether Milton summoned it, or whether it came of its own accord. It's not the first time down here that I've heard of someone seeing something in the mirror that isn't there. But David was as quiet as though he had been rebuked. He didn't say anything else to Milton. There's a part of this I think I never told you. Silence falls. Do you know what an inquest is like? I'm going to say no, because I want her to tell me. I didn't know, and now I can't let it go. It had to be held right away, immediately, when David died. It had to be done and finished so we could bury him. So it was the coroner and a random 12 men he found willing, presiding in the upper room at the Rising Sun. We carried up David's body and put it on a table after we'd cleaned it as well as we could. He'd been sick a few times while he was dying. But we did what we could, and the gin fumes covered the smell, I imagine. At least, for the members of the inquest jury. This feels like a moment where we could sympathize. I'm sorry. These are terrible times. Rachel makes a few flattering remarks on my better points. And then it was just me and Phoebe, the only witnesses, being interrogated by the lot of these men, who were not sober and not sensible and not of our beliefs. Phoebe stood by me and held my hand, and for that I will be grateful to her until the day I die. They wanted to perform an autopsy on David. It wouldn't have been more than a butchery. To look for poisons inside him. I'm glad to have my brother back, but it seems we went through all that for nothing. And that makes me angry in its own way. The end of it was that they wrote out a warrant for Archie's arrest, and I've never been more grateful for a thing to be over. I do not think that this is a good time to be like, yeah, but can't you see the upsides of the thing that just happened? Thank you for telling me. Not the sort of story to tell when dining out. Do not at this moment attempt to kiss this woman. What is wrong with you? If you click on this, the game should just say in all caps, what is wrong with you? So do we want to redirect, like, do we want to try to attempt a soft landing, basically, for this conversation? Yeah, I suppose so. Rachel's conversation circles back to Milton's salon, which is plainly the source of most of her social engagement. At first he wouldn't entertain anyone who painted or sketched, or worse yet, committed acts of sculpture. He said you couldn't tell enough about the souls of the characters, and it wasn't interesting to him if it didn't afford a view. But he was converted out of that view by the contribution of the Solomons, especially Simeon, who, according to Milton, makes all his painted heroes into a temptation and a reproach. After that, the rules against visual representation were somewhat relaxed, and the company grew more mixed. The business of the salon is evidently central in Rachel's existence, and at the same time it is the one thing that David will not allow her to discuss at home. So she tells all of it to me, never tiring of its personalities and its particular etiquette, so unlike the manners of her own family. There's a chapter waiting for me to finish it. Look after yourself, mademoiselle. My opinion is unchanged. I don't feel like this was an appropriate sort of, the reason that we came here does not lend itself to romantic movement in any direction, really. I wish that I could have also given her the pages, given her my story idea, rather. I didn't write it down, but, just like pass that on to her as sort of the ending of the conversation. So I don't know that I think any of this stuff is going to be useful. No, disliked David is useful for sure. Actually, never mind. That's a good one. So wait, that is... Okay, that motive is only available in this box. Interesting. Well, I mean, it would almost have to be the case, but I don't think it's the case for Phoebe. Unless she's a better liar than I'm expecting. I don't know. I believed her when she sort of suggested to us that perhaps she was... The thing is, we came to that information in a roundabout enough way that I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like a lie. It seems to me like a thing that we legitimately know about her. Am I allowed to go see David as well? I am. I wonder if this would be better. Just asking Milton to his face feels like it's going to be of low value, right? He's certainly not going to tell me whatever the hell it was that happened with the waxen mirror, the waxen version of David in the reflection in the mirror or whatever. Like, very curious stuff, though. Maybe I could head over here and Maybe there's a way to approach this carefully enough with Milton that we could get him to slip and drop some information? Maybe. There's still this too. Like, we have there's so many different concerns. I'm a little bummed out that there was a patch where they dramatically expanded the number of days in the game. Because people were complaining that they weren't getting to do everything they wanted, and like, I think that kind of sucks that like they yielded on their initial design, because it seems like it's, given how sort of like awkward and halting progress in this game can be, it feels like it's designed to evoke a sort of regret, like you don't get everything you wanted done, and you don't necessarily succeed at things, and that's very thematically of a piece with a lot of the dialogue, a lot of the characters, a lot of the like the yearning about life on the surface, and the examination of the way that having lost things irretrievably, affects us and changes us and offers us opportunity for change and growth, like in Grizz's case. And I think it's kind of a bummer that they yielded on that, just because a lot of people don't like to have a story that leaves them with any kind of regrets or wanting more. I wonder how much of this stuff we will, in the end, have time for. But it's probably more than I might consider to be ideal, given the thematics of the thing. And, you know, like, what happens in the mechanics, what you do in play, is the actual narrative of the game. Whatever else is happening around the edges of it. It's nice when those things dovetail, and it seems like they kind of de-dovetailed them. Because people weren't having enough positive feelings at the end of their playthroughs, and that's a bummer. Anyway, sort of an aside. You know what? Let's do this. We said we would. So I have to think about what impression we're making on Batachikon, but also on Mr. Pages. And I wonder if it's a good idea to head in there with our badge on. Well, I think I want to both of them. I would like to appear to be an agent of the Rubbery Men. This is like the side I'm taking in this place, in this particular thing, right? Do I have a more business-like top? The black coat's all right. Inspires a lofty attitude and an inclination to protect the weak. I am, to all appearances, dressed for a club for monster enthusiasts. I kind of love this look. I wish I had one of these cloaks. This is really rad. You know what? Let's try it. The brooch makes it look as though I'm doing some sort of official business, though who can say for what office. I think that is the impression I'm trying to give here. Batachikon burbles a greeting. He wiggles his tentacles with nervous anticipation. All right. Are you ready to meet Mr. Pages? Batachikon makes a lonely warble. I think he misses Barkajin's constant presence. This is followed by a forlorn trumpeting noise. It indicates that he suspects she is stealing his idea to set up shop. It is a very specific suggestion. Perhaps he knows more about her current whereabouts than he is saying, but he gives no further indication. We get such specific ideas from him now. I really wonder if we are right about this, or if we are dramatically misinterpreting him constantly and we just don't even realize that we're doing it. He makes a resolute honk. What is no concern of his, wherever she is. He wonders where that might be. Well, I mean, listen, we are going to stay focused on the thing, But I could also look for her if you like. Batachi-kan makes a noise that indicates he has no idea who I am referring to. A further honk indicates he is certain that she is trying to prove she can manage on her own without him. A disdainful hoot suggests that he would not be surprised if she were copying his idea of entering the merchant's trade. A final derisive warble suggests that she will be bullying some hapless shopkeeper even as we speak. Yeah, that seems possible. I'm gonna try. It does seem like he misses her, right? I am just gonna finish this conversation. We're not gonna move in that direction. I am here to... Wait, no, have a good afternoon. I'm in no hurry to change what we are now. Are we not gonna do the other thing? I thought that was a conversation we were having, and then we were gonna... Why would that mean we're not doing the other... Okay. It's fine. Let me not wear my rubbery brooch to dinner. Okay, can I just right-click to empty a slot? No, okay. Yeah, that caught me a little off guard. That deciding that he would like to see Bakujin again would mean that we weren't going to see Mr. Pages. Forgive me for interrupting, everybody. I have something I'd very much like you all to see. He was asking about my work with Mr. Pages. I very much hope I am not about to be confronted with a version of him in clay. Yeah, what are we going to see here? Ah! The dolls are lifelike, but imprinted with cheeky caricature that reflects the essence of the original. I hope these are to your liking. I took inspiration from a show near Hogslane Market that I saw. It involved marionettes and what I took to be a crocodile. These are entirely charming, Mr. Moss. Yours has her nose in the air, Grizz. I did not notice that. Look, yours is wagging her finger, telling somebody off, no doubt. I believe she is emphatically making a point, that's all. I think these will do nicely, Mr. Moss. This seems like a weird concern. I agree with enthusiasm. These are rad, thank you very much. They are a fine example of their craft. Oh, and you have so few to compare them to. Well, I think they're wonderful. Indeed, even if I'd seen 1,000, I venture I'd find these 3 are my favorite. I am glad my work has provided satisfaction. I suppose I have differed from my king's own project in one crucial respect, however. I could not keep from including your particulars in the project. You are also fully formed already. I couldn't help but include your character. You know, I think that's a good way of going about it. No, I think this was the right way to... Wow. That's almost exactly what I said. I am glad. Artistic expression of this kind is not encouraged in Polythreme. The conductor controls the choir, not the other way around. I am glad my humble efforts find favor here. Speaking of which, I must get back to my tasks. I don't wish to give Mrs. Chapman cause to fret. Yeah, I don't think we need to review the day. "11 days remain in the season of Yule. And I feel like we've got something, a piece of an idea of what happened. Grizz leaves me the newspaper after she's read everything of political import. The headlines today read, Ministry of Public Decency bans printing of former London street names. Yeah, that makes sense. That is that is of a piece with some other information. All right, well, let's see if we can recall our past in any more useful a way than last time. Theophilus and Horatia had their differences back then. You know, we spent like basically no time with Theophilus. I don't really feel like I know anything about him. Someone had come to ask Archie about the Christmas services. Was it Theophilus? May I rely on you then to read the second lesson? Oh, if I must, but the sacrifice of Isaac. No, that is to say, yes, that's the right lesson, but he isn't sacrificed in the end, of course. That, naturally, was the miracle. Am I remembering Archie right? And maybe it wasn't even him. I like this idea of like a memory where you're aware that you can't recall all of the details. I've always been more partial to the fourth lesson. Ah, but consider how the second lesson ends. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies. That's the verse I most dislike. I feel like Horatia puts her foot down. That's the thing that happens. When we come to that part of the lesson, I may have a fit of coughing. I wouldn't be surprised if no one can hear it at all on the night. It's not easy being vicar when one's parishioners are all as stubborn as Pharaoh. All right, that's some very Christian fencing going on there. I do not have time for it. I mean, we got to go ask David directly, right? Yeah, absolutely. We got to ask David directly. If I could just get some more precise information about him, or from him, about like what he was feeling in the time running up to the death, you know, just I know it's tough, but I need actual data, you know. So we'll do our social gathering outfit here. I wonder if we're allowed to still get Batachi-Khan to come with us to Mr. Page's, or if now that I have said I would look for Barkujin, if that is the only way forward. If the other thing must wait. That look suits you. Okay, that's interesting. We don't usually have people open up with a comment on our outfit. Let's enter neutrally here. I recount the newspaper story. The Ministry of Public Decency has forbidden the printing of former London street names. I make the story as engaging as I can. You know how I talk. I try to stay out of politics. A lesson from my father, though perhaps in a new age. Where do I think he falls? Because I definitely I want him to feel like we're close. I want him to feel like we're on the same side. How do I best manipulate this particular rich person? A critical question from Winnie's life. I don't know if he's going to be down for like a talk about the abstract, sinister nature of authority. Particular authority, perhaps. I'm going to try this. Rich people are generally like in favor of the structure in sort of an abstract sense. Well, it's a good thing we have someone looking after us. It might be chaos here, but it would be worse without that bit of protection. David hears me out, but it's plain this question doesn't matter as much to him as to me. Okay, no strong feelings on it either way. Don't mind me. David digresses into a little story about the population down near Tentergrounds. There are fewer beggars than there used to be. I'd like to think that was a good thing, but I fear some of them may have died. Well, okay, that's somewhat compassionate. I mean, we gotta press, right? Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Well, better you than the news hounds, perhaps. But I'd still like to know what you think you can do with the answers. It's interesting that I don't have the option of saying anything about Archie. I don't think I would if I was given the option, to David at least. But it's interesting that we don't even have it. The law has cracked somewhat. It requires a touch of volunteer assistance. Well, there are uniformed constables now for good reason. It doesn't fall to every citizen to try to enforce the Queen's order. Well, I'm not just any citizen. I have a reason to be interested, and at the same time I am not especially close either to you or to your sister. I am more impartial than your friends could be. David hesitates between several temptations. Well, I suppose anything I say to you is unlikely to get back to my relatives. I trust you'll make good use of what I tell you. No gossiping, no scandal mongering. Only use it in the cause of truth. And after that, if it paints me as a weakling or fool, so be it. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about Milton. Gosh, maybe I want to go here first. I was wondering if you could tell me again what happened on the final day. Well, you've heard it already, haven't you? I'd been ill for days, and I woke up late, not feeling well. That seamstress of Rachel's was already in the house. All the sounds were too loud that day. Phoebe's footstep on the stair might have been Hannibal's entourage coming over the Alps. I remember the bell ringing again for Milton and again for Archibald. I was relieved when he turned up. His medicine had generally been a comfort to that point. Okay. I didn't remember the seamstress. That's Ivy, right? Were matters between you and Milton so bad that he would have killed you? Well, it's true, I did not like him, and once I asked him what he intended toward Rachel. This I've heard. He did not seem angry. He didn't exactly answer me either. He said a few words that I did not understand. They hung in the air like a solid thing. And there are folk tales about words of magical power. Silence falls. I found afterwards that I didn't want to ask him about Rachel again. He certainly wasn't afraid of me. He may not even have disliked me very much. Afterwards, I only argued with Rachel about Milton rather than the other way around. There's a brief lull in the conversation. You're fortunate you find us when the house is quiet. We've had reporters on my resurrection from the newspapers. We've had medical men. We've had an artist who wanted to capture an eyewitness account of Death's appearance for his next painting. But above all, we have received half of Jewish London. Recommend acquiring a fierce butler feels like it's also humor. I can't remember what David thinks of our sense of humor. I'm gonna go this way. This way feels like the truest to us, and David's in position to appreciate such a thing, hopefully. There's nothing like dying to expand one's acquaintance. There's a rabbi who's very concerned that I might start some Frankist heresy. And a young man who is convinced I was sent back to life because I had left some duty unfinished the first time. Most of all, they want my death to be an explanation for their lives. So they come to me for something that I cannot give. Ask my advice about their troubles when I've never been an expert in my own. Touch my elbow as though the fabric of my coat had something holy to impart. And all I can tell them is, I understand death less now than I ever did. When it was a bound on our lives, that meant something. It gave us just enough time to have our children and tell our stories. But if you can return, it signifies nothing at all. Darkly sympathetic. I'm going to thank David for trusting me. I do want to sympathize with him. And I want him to feel like everybody's coming to him for something. I want him to feel like I'm on his side, right? I want him to feel like he has me at his back so that he will tell us more, so that he will trust me more and tell me more things. But I wonder if this is the right way. I'm going to try it. They might give you some time to recover. You've been on a long journey. This does not seem to have occurred to most of them. You should know I'm here for you. Whatever you need. Thank you. That's good to hear. I have Rachel, of course. She's as close to me as anyone could be, and at the same time entirely maddening. She's perceptive, thoughtful, clever, sometimes unkind, but usually when she thinks someone is being foolish. But not restful. One is always being measured and assessed with her. I'm afraid I can't entertain as long as I used to. Everything is always running too slowly, and yet every day is the same. Yes, so I've heard. Yeah, my opinion's unchanged. We're going to be pals. We are a friend to David. We are helping him, not just because it helps him, but, because it also helps us. Well, it also helps Archie, at least. Interesting. That didn't consume my afternoon. Oh, no, sorry. That was the morning of... We slept already. What am I talking about? That was absolutely a morning. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I can still bring Batachikon to meet Mr. Pages, but maybe we should try to do the other thing first. Let's go to the market. I'm going to change... Actually, you know what? Before we do anything, let me fiddle with my story a little bit. Because what if it is Ivy? Ivy... I don't know. Hope for wealth might be right, honestly. Ivy sought money. Milton had fought Ivy over Rachel. No, Milton had fought David over Rachel. Ivy went to the market and returned with something utterly unidentifiable. So, if we are talking about the cloth... She poisoned David with vibrant arsenical cloth, which somehow went unnoticed afterward and left no marks on his skin. But it wouldn't, right? Like, I think that makes sense. More and more, though, I'm wondering, given what we just had, the conversation we just had, I'm wondering if what Milton did, magic-wise, was something to just get David to leave him alone about Rachel. I don't know. The appearance of it is certainly upsetting. A body that looks like stiff and waxen. I'm trying to make sense of it. And I guess it's going to be tough to do with surface logic. I don't know. I don't know what her specific motive would have been aside from wanting money. This story doesn't make any sense. Again, it's just like, it's too complicated an idea for the information we have right now. We have no reason to think that there's like a pair of people with a complicated relationship where one of them affected the other in some way, and then there was a separate interaction where like a murder, like... I don't know. We have no reason to think there are all these twists and turns. But I want to put Ivy in that slot, at least because I think that's going to let us question her more directly. We could try to solve this problem now. I'm trying to work on both in the limited time. And of course, this is what I was just talking. Excuse me. That was quite a coughing fit out of nowhere. Kids, take care of your esophagus. Mine is all fucked up, and gosh, it sure does manifest sometimes. Yeah, what is more critically important to me? We're trying to solve the Archie thing first, right? Yeah. Yeah, let's talk to Ivy about David and see if we can we can scout out any kind of motives she might have. Ivy and I know one another too well now for any minor eccentricities of dress to surprise her. I may still have my own preferences about how I wish to appear, however. I actually really like that. I like that little bit of nuance in the system where, like, after somebody knows what you're about, the way you're dressed tells them a lot less. I'm gonna go to her like this, actually. You know, again, represent that it's fine. That's fine. I have money. I can buy a hat from her if it comes to it. You know, we're both craftspeople. We're both in similar crafts, in fact. But the flower is still a little bit of, like, it's a little bit of panache. It's a little spark. Ivy seems glad to see me. It's such a weird option to have with everybody, to be like, oh, hey, you're not dead. Wow. That's great. I was really concerned. I'm just going to come straight to the point here. Also, I don't know that Ivy necessarily wants to be fawned over. There's something I wish to discuss. I had a question or two for you. Where I come from, we don't inform for free. You want me to remember something, it'll cost you tuppence. Bloody hell, I mean... Fine, I'm not doing anything else with the money. Fair enough. I hear you were at the Landau townhouse the day David died. So I was. Not that I knew it was his last day at the time. I was there to refurbish one or two of Rachel's gowns for her. It used to be your Rachel Landaus would never have their old gowns made over. But new cloth is dearer than hen's teeth now. And you didn't see David while you were there. He was resting, not well enough to receive visitors. I did see Archie arrive. He might have left his bag of medicines unwatched for a time. Oh, interesting. But that's not what I was there for, was it? And you had no reason to kill him off yourself. I don't give secrets, I sell them. There'd be nothing in it for me. Unless you think I've such a dislike of gentlemen that I'm clearing them out of the neath. Well, fucking, do you know who did it then? I'm lost. Oh, no one's made me a confession of his murder, if that's what you're asking. Not sure what I'd do if they had. This Holomus isn't such a lark as I thought. My thinking was, sell a few masks, gain a few secrets. A businesswoman knows when opportunity is knocked, and my thought was I was opening the door. But quite a few dark things came in. I don't care to be giving away every confession I heard. Well, I mean, I could use any help, really, honestly, anything. Is there anyone in the household you would suspect? You're determined it can't have been the doctor, then. There are one or two feuds in that house, but none that I'd see take this course. Well, did David have any enemies that you're aware of? All the world knows the answer to that. Rachel Landau put him in her novel, didn't she? Him and his jilt Charlotte and her new husband, Lord Carringham. Yeah, alright. I'm feeling less and less like it was Milton, or like there's a possibility it was Milton, and if it wasn't Milton, then the Carringhams seem like the next avenue to pursue. She has no idea of the value of a secret, that Rachel. Well, I'm certainly not going to condemn either of them. You know, it's no easy thing, Rachel's business. I've had little to do with it I had a little to do with it myself. You can hardly help pulling in people you've met here and there. Meat pie's gone scarce down here unless you mince a body up. But no law says you have to dine on pies. Lord Carringham's been suffering from the whispers in his circle. All about how his pretty young wife, Jewish as was, is pining in her heart for the man she used to love. And how she regrets her wedding to a chinless Christian stick. All the while, Charlotte's telling him how loyal and faithful and true she is to her lord and master. But she's dressing to catch the eye of half the men who pass. And what's more, she's setting me to carry letters secretly to David Landau, telling him she's still in love with him. Begging him for a moment to speak. Time came, and I told Lord Carringham the truth. Not very long before David's death, that would have been. Ivy! What? Jesus. First of all, it seems like you could have mentioned this before. Secondly, why, though? Alright. I do want to question her motives. I don't want to insult her. And I'm worried that if I question her motives and she takes offense, it will end the conversation and sort of close off this avenue. So I'm gonna, this is critical. Well, it sounds as though he had good reason to kill David, then. Oh, Carringham isn't a man for taking his own back. Weak liver in that man. And when I showed him the copies of her letters, off he goes sick. You showed him copies, Ivy? Cast up his accounts right there with me in the room. But then he says he's sorry for his wife. Sorry for her. And what must he do but take her away as quick as may be, so she won't be tormented anymore. Or tempted to break the vows she made at the altar or at the font. That was a treasure he found, that phrase for Charlotte's honor. And once he hit upon it, he kept saying it. That's weird. I give full vent to my amusement. The joke of it faded afterward. Will you take my confession? There's a rite I need the use of, even if it isn't the season. I'll teach you the words to let me speak my mind. I will hear it for her sake, and then also maybe, the information might be useful. We'll see. I will hear you. Not here. She takes a mask from her stall and puts it over my face. This is a rite to do in the dark, and with a change or two in the words. I catch only a glimpse of it before she ties it in place. A bright and scowling sun. Oh no, the sun. The sun. In a few minutes we are standing together in shadow, and she has told me all I need to know to play my part. I am here to carry the weight you need to put down. Tell me a way you have failed yourself, and I will take it away. It will be yours for as long as you live. However long that may be. I'm not afraid to put the knife in them that earned it. I take what's mine, and I take what ought to be mine. But what I'd done to Lord Chinless Carringham, it wasn't a judgment, and it wasn't commerce neither. He'd suffered good and well from Rachel Landau's spite. Her pride was hurt when her brother was spurned, so she put his family name in the muck. Call it art or whatever else you want to say, but that's what it was, if you ask me. And what I'd done to him was spite just as much as hers. I can call it what else I like, but in the dark, truth is I took against Charlotte. I struck at her, and it was him I hit. It's nothing to do with what's happened to David Landau since, but it's a thing I've done that's better left undone. Okay. I feel like this has been a very, at this point, this has been a very meaningful episode in terms of our investigation. We've learned a lot of critically important things. I mean, I want to be close with Ivy. I'm just going to say the words to come next. I think we've got our relationship with Ivy sort of in the place I want it to be in. Ivy, I will carry this self-recrimination for you. What you have done, you have recognized and set aside. You do not need to fear that you will betray yourself in the same way again. I take off the mask, ending the ritual. Oh, weird. That noise was an achievement, I guess? Weird. Ask whether it helped. Was it helpful? You did well, I think. Not too solemn, no giggling either. You don't want to be putting people in mind of popery. But you want them to know you take it serious. The good rites have a spectacle to them, but they still keep your feet on the ground. Otherwise, they're too far from life to do a speck of good after. Yeah, I think I agree with her. By now, Horatio will be wondering where I am. Well, let's hurry back to dinner. Interesting. Yeah, that's a lot of information to work with. I mean, would one of the Carringhams, maybe not, gosh. Because she loved David. I'm almost wondering if someone might have killed David, someone who maybe not one of the Carringhams, but one of the people who cares about them, someone in their house, someone close, might have killed David basically as a way of getting back at Rachel. As a way of punishing Rachel, or I don't know. And there's also obviously the thing that, like, we don't have to worry about what Mrs. Carringham thinks about David and the torment she's going through if David's too dead for her to, carry on an affair with. They certainly couldn't have imagined that he would just get better. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting new opportunities opened up by the thing we just learned, and I guess we'll see if we can pursue them fast enough. Horatia murmurs over her plate. A blessing, I think, for the food, and for Archie, too. I've been getting new supplies. New supplies, yes. A humid, fleshy odor rises from the basement if I stop in the stairwell. A scent like hot bacon and the sweetness of ripe fruit. I am forbidden to visit. We are all, always, forbidden to visit. I'm a little concerned about the food, but I do not think Horatio would do anything to harm us. Chew and swallow. Every day's meal is finer, richer, more exotic. It isn't just the meat. There are spices I've never tasted before. And of course, help clear the dishes after eating, as we do. Okay, well, like I said, productive. Or sort of like productive in a negative way, right? We cleared out a lot of things that I am now pretty sure are not what happened. And we gained some information that opens up some new avenues of investigation. Gosh, I don't know anything about the Carringhams. All right, headlines today read, Nightmares of Mechanical Bear continue to plague Oldcastle residents. Mechanical Bear? Alright, well that feels like a thing we are fully on the outside of. In any case, I think that's where we're going to stop for today. Thank you all so much for watching. We have a new direction to look. I had totally forgotten, like, an element of the way that I'm playing this game, where it's just like a couple hours a week, is that I'm going to lose a lot of the finer details of things. The journal is very helpful in that way. And I do think it's an interesting coincidence that, like, right as we saw the entry in the journal about David loving Charlotte, and I was like, oh yeah, all of a sudden, the Carringhams have rushed back into the story. So yeah, when you come back next time, we're going to be pursuing that particular, that avenue. If anyone had anything to do with David's death, it seems at this point very likely to be them, although I guess I may be letting Milton off the hook too easily. I don't know. We'll try to track it down. And we'll see you then.